Hello and welcome to another BuildASoil YouTube episode. Today, we're doing a little behind the scenes on one of the sourcing for one of our products. And so I just pulled up on scene. It's called the Milk and Honey Homestead, and they're self-sufficient. They've got a lot going on here, but the reason we're here is that we source one raw ingredient for the manufacturing of one of the products that BuildASoil carries. And the manufacturer is also here, and that product is the Thrive Yahweh. Eric's here, and he's been working with this farm for a little while to source the raw milk that's used to make the kefir, that's used to make the whey, that's used to be stabilized to make the Thrive product. And so we want to show you behind the scenes. Also talk a little bit about the homestead, because it's a dream for a lot of us to be able to be self-sufficient and not have to be dependent upon other systems. And that's really part of the BuildASoil way. And so let's go take a walk. Looks like they've got an orchard here, which is pretty incredible. Kind of a dream of mine. And then of course they've got chickens for eggs, which you can do so much with the protein from eggs. Hi.
Hi.
How's it going?
I'm Ben.
Ben, Jeremy.
Good to meet you.
Great to be out here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, you bet. Welcome to the homestead.
Yeah, Eric.
Oh, perfect.
Thanks for
timing,
having us
guys.
out.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming. Well, and this is Miss Tammy.
I'm Tammy.
Hi, Tammy. Thanks for having us out.
So yeah, guys, we're gonna try some of this
Top right
raw milk, straight from Milk and Honey
Cream
Homestead.
line.
So here's you see the cream line up here on top,
Oh yeah.
all separated out. We'll give it a shake here.
Cool.
Completely raw. In its natural form, without being homogenized, that cream will separate out to the top.
Yep. I make coffee. I love it. And in
Oh,
the espresso machine, when my wife wants a latte or when we're trying to play with it, you notice a difference in all the milk and how it reacts under the heat.
Yes.
It makes a difference. I'd imagine with this, it'd be next level.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Still got those original intact fat molecules.
Yes, and what we did last month is we sent all the cows their own vial of milk, a sample, off to the lab out of Denver, and they tested the butter fat. And so store 2% is obviously 2%, whole milk is 4%. They take all the cream out commercially, add it back in at the ratio they want.
Yeah.
But our cows are producing 4 1/4 to 6%.
Wow.
So our milk is much higher. So you'll taste that that's more
Right.
rich, fuller bodied. And then if you want to make butter and other products, you will yield a lot more curds because we have such a high butter fat content.
And then
that's
cheese.
all on grass, rotational
100%
grazing
grass.
and grass eating.
So that butter, that fat, really helps with the yields in the cows and also
Yes.
re-putting back into nature as far as its manures.
Yeah, we're also building soil here as well.
Right.
Yeah, the
So,
animals do that for
Yeah,
us.
every year we are gaining, organic matter. Those fields are getting better. We're not taking from them on a yearly basis.
Try this. I'm excited. I'm
let's
holding
try
it.
it. Let's
I want
try
to
it.
get in. So cheers. All right. Thank
All right,
you.
Thank you guys for having us.
It's like candy.
It kind of just goes down.
Yeah, it's so good.
Yeah.
I'm not even a milk drinker.
Well, this is not a commercial
is not
processed
a-
product.
Exactly.
This is the closest we have in ratio and in omega-3, 6, and 9s to human milk. And we do have people that come out and seek this milk because they need to make formula. We do have, pediatricians helping moms create a formula out of this if they
Interesting.
can't feed the newborn.
Really cool.
Yes.
Okay, well, we showed up. We've shown you just a little bit about the raw milk, which is important because the Thrive is a derivative of that and the minerals that are in it. But I want to show you the rest of what's going on here because I really want to see for myself, and I'm super impressed with what I see here, and I hope you are too. So let's go take a walk.
In the fall time, last fall, after everything was gone, we amended them with some of the Thrive. We poured that on all the beds to sit for the winter.
Yep.
And now, pretty soon, there's going to be starting planting, and we'll be hitting it again.
There's already some coming back. That's great.
Yeah.
this-
Spinach and
This
onions and-
volunteered from last fall.
Yep. And so for those of you that are watching that don't know, this time of year is when we're getting ready to get ready. And so next month in June is when the wind kind of slows down, the temperatures start to creep up, and really everything that you can plant gets planted. And so this is pretty normal to see right now. But what's not normal is how beautiful these raised beds are. I just love seeing it. You can work at a better height. And this is right next to the home. So you can come immediately out here. You can harvest food for your dinner or for production for storage, and it goes right back in. So it's super efficient for the homestead to have this here. Looks beautiful. Yeah, looks. I see the pumice. I see all the stuff that's in there. I love seeing that. Nutrient-dense food. And I can see these octo heads, and so at each one of them they have a drip system set up. You can see, and I see the PVC going down, so you can run it on drip. And out here in Colorado, you know, we get more evaporation than rainfall. The sun's intense and it starts to pull the moisture out. So if you don't have a dependable way to consistently provide water, you end up fighting it. You're out here in the morning with the hose, in the evening with the hose, and the plants start to get mad, then you're over and under watering. So it makes a ton of sense to have a system in place to deal with that, especially with our weather. So
we have an asparagus patch here. This is our family asparagus patch.
yeah, I can see it.
So we've been picking this about every 2 days right now. More than we can eat on a fresh basis. So we've been making asparagus soup and canning that, putting that up for the year.
Make a cream of asparagus.
Yep.
One of the things, cream of asparagus is really good. And one of the things that a lot of people in Montrose do is they'll go around to all the drainage ditches around town and they'll harvest asparagus because it's naturally growing all over here. But the challenge with that, when you start to think about it, is what do all the farmers put and where do they spray? The county sprays. They go hit all the ditches unless you put a no spray sign. And even then they're literally spraying the ditches. And so the plants are resilient. Asparagus is amazing. It grows through it. But you go see people along the sides of the road with like a grocery bag and they're all hunting and harvesting asparagus. And while I still believe in it and still think it's great, having your own that you know has not been sprayed with everything is the only way to keep that Roundup out of your system and all the other herbicides they use. And so you can see as the asparagus grows and starts to flower, and then you can see how it starts to lose like its tight shape that we're looking for, and it starts to open up into what is to be, and then you can see it fully flowering over there.
Then it hits a stage that you have to leave it. You want to quit harvesting it, and that's going to put all its energy back into the ground, and that's for next year. So this is producing off of last year's reserves. Really amazing.
Very, very cool. So it comes back every year. And now, did you dig a trench, or did you go follow any special process, or did you just plant it?
We pretty much just planted it. We bought the crowns, and then for the first year, we didn't pick it at all. Second year, we picked a little bit, let it get established, get those crowns.
Asparagus is so good.
Yeah, now we can pick it pretty heavily. It's really producing heavily. The cows are on pasture year round. They're not ever locked in a confined area. However, up near the milking parlor, when they come up the area, we do have wood shavings. We import those in from a local cabinet shop. So we bring in shavings. That's the carbon. And then that captures most of that nitrates out of the urine and manure. And then once or twice a year, we will clean that out, bring that out here, pile it up, and then I'll continue to churn that pile and let it break down, water it if needed. So this compost, our shareholders, they will come out and get some of this for their own raised beds or gardens. And then we use it ourselves. Sometimes it goes back on the fields. My wife and I, we grow a very large garden, so we'll take dump trailer loads of this back to our garden. Can continue to put that on a yearly basis. This is a wonderful product, nutrient dense. Let's go out to the barn.
Okay.
And we can look at the parlor. We've got out there in the covered area, we've got the whole mineral, cafeteria style mineral bar.
Cool. I see that you have some what I call slop. And so what I used to do at my house is I'd take all the chicken feed and I would just pour water into it and it would start to ferment, and then you would just give them the slop. They seem to like it a lot better than the regular food.
They really like it. So we run this typically about 48 hours. So it can go from just simply being soaked to fermented. We'll usually put a little bit of kefir, maybe some skim milk, about 48 hours. And then, just offer free choice throughout the day to them. We do start with some C90. So here's our C90 in a little jar. We'll put some of that in the feed. It doesn't take much, just a little bit. And then also the water. So the water they're drinking has all those minerals available to them.
And if you think of the ocean, which, C90 is a product that BuildASoil carries. But the ocean has all the minerals. I mean, it has everything from that periodic table of elements in there. And so I think there's a reason I grew up, when you get out of the ocean, you just feel better. It feels like you've absorbed some of that. And of course, not all the water's the cleanest, but the C90 is a really good product and it has all the trace minerals. And when we research Jadam and other natural farming methodologies, one way is to buy specifics, but that's kind of the Western culture. I need this vitamin. Where the more natural, holistic way is to say, let's give it everything. And so ocean water is one way to do that. It's dehydrated. And so not only are they getting all the minerals, but it turns around and you're on a homestead. And now the last thing you want to do is grow all of your produce and all of your meat on one location without having micronutrients that may be devoid in your particular area. We don't all live next to a volcano that was recently remineralized. So now we know that the meat, the food, everything has the micronutrients so that we're not deficient in something ourselves if that's what we're living on. I love seeing it. And for your plants, you can foliar spray that if you're worried about putting the salt right onto the soil. Now, we still need a little bit in the soil. So it's not harmful at small amounts. In fact, C90 wanted us to mix it into our soil.
Yep.
But one of the things we're trying to do with potting soil in particular is lower the amount of available sodium and then allow to use those as supplementation. So very, very cool. And so this fermented feed goes in the trough. And then these are meat chickens.
Yep. So these are broilers. They'll be processed out at 8 to 9 weeks old. And yeah, these will be some very large birds, all raised. So all our feed is custom made. It's soy free, it's non-GMO. We have that locally made for us. And then yeah, we ferment it, put the C90 minerals in there, and these are some healthy birds here. But yeah, you can see how clean those birds are.
Oh yeah.
Like you said, there's no smell. They're not breathing that ammonia in. Very, very healthy.
Thanks for showing me. This is excellent. All right, where are we headed?
The magic happens.
So you can see they put their own hay up, like they said. Beautiful.
Yep. We produce our own hay.
And what good would a barn be without a barn cat?
That's right. Yeah, you got to have a couple mousers around, snoozing up there. So what we have here are these tubs of water. After the milk comes out, it goes into stainless steel buckets, and then we put those stainless steel buckets in this water. Even this time of year, you know, when it's a little warmer, it'll pull 20, 30 degrees out of that milk. It comes out of the cow at 101 degrees. This will start cooling that while we're finishing, you know, sanitizing stuff out here before we take it in and actually bottle it.
This is incredible. And then did you grow up this way? Or has this been developing over the last decade? Or has this been forever? Or?
I got the first milk cow about 12 years ago. Started off just as a family cow.
Yeah.
It's all about us just producing our own healthy food, and then it just kind of evolved from there.
I love it.
Had to get a second cow, and before you know it.
What was the
milk
first seed that
shares.
was planted in your minds? Was it, let's be a little more self-sufficient?
Yes.
Yeah, was that where it started from?
Yeah, self-sufficiency, and then also health of the food. You know,
Yeah.
we want to. A lot of those products, it's hard to buy out there, so we could produce that ourselves the way we wanted it. And food security is a big part of that.
Even in the last 10 years. 10 years ago, people would be like, well, who cares? GMO's good. And I didn't believe it then. But I feel like now you see the commercials on TV. They're like, if you use Roundup. And so it's becoming, I think, more normalized to think we should care about what we put in our body. I want to live not only a long life, right? But if I am so blessed to live a long life, I don't want it to be of torture, of sickness and pain. I want to live as healthy as possible as long as I can, right?
Yep. So yeah, we produce all our own protein. We raise that ourselves here. Then obviously our dairy, then all our vegetables, our fruit.
Cool. You got me inspired. This is great. So what are we doing next?
So come on in. This is the milk parlor here.
Okay.
And come on in here. So this is heated. We have hot water. You can see these are we run two machines here. The cows are all milked with machines, all stainless steel, food grade. So we have 3 stanchions here. We'll bring 3 in at a time. We have 2 doors over here, so the cows can come in. We give them some for a treat as they're in there to hold still. We give them some of our own alfalfa we put up, and then we give them a small ration of this is a sweet mix grain. So it's custom made for us. It's non-GMO, and that's a little treat when they come in. But that's a very, very small percent of their diet.
I mean, I get anything you love, you want to give treats to. We know ice cream's not good, but the kids want it. It's part of life, right?
Yeah. So they.
And so, do they mind their names here, or is?
No, the cows all know how to read.
Yeah.
Yep. No, we've taught them how to read, so they all know where their name's at, and they come into there.
That's great.
So yeah, then out here is this is Ellie here. Ellie's gonna have her calf in 2 to 3 weeks, so she's starting to get close and a little uncomfortable. She's hanging out up here, looks like maybe catching a little shade under the barn. You can see again here on the ground, you can see all those wood shavings in here. Yep. Capturing that nitrogen. This is Tulip. This is a upcoming cow. She's just a young heifer right now, but she's a Dutch belted, very rare breed. They just about went extinct in the 70s. They were saved, and there's not too many of them around nowadays, but yeah, she's gonna be a sweet cow.
Great.
So we call it cafeteria style. So they have all these minerals across here.
Okay.
The cows naturally know what they need. We tend to, try to mix everything and tell them what they need, but the cows know what they need. So if it's magnesium, copper, phosphorus, calcium, zinc, they're all across. The cow can get what they need. Different times of the year, depending on if they're on grass, if they're on hay, different stages of lactation or pregnancy, they're varying what they need. So Here's some kelp, some sea kelp, the C90. This is the C90. Well, you can see where they've already hit it. I just filled that yesterday. They've already taken a chunk out. Yeah, but they know what they need, and they're all in their natural form. They're not synthetic, so anything they don't need, they can just pass out. They're not going to ever overdo it on something.
Well, what's interesting is I've read books because it's so fascinating, and as you start to learn about ancient techniques, it's almost like, wow, I grew up in a cul-de-sac, and so people, it's more to it than that for me. And I'm reading, and you're like, so when they put the trace minerals, or it's grown properly, and they set the hay in different areas, the cows would actually walk the furthest, which they normally wouldn't do, to the one that had the right minerals, and intelligently, upon their own accord, go for the more mineral-dense grass. And I just was fascinated by that because, I mean, nature has these instincts. Yep. But like you trust kids' instincts, they're like more cookies, so it's kind of like, how do they know?
Along those same lines, on the hay that we produce, I could take this hay that was sprayed with the C90 minerals, and you could take another hay and give it next to them. And they would absolutely go to that C90 because they know the difference in that hay. Same color, it could be the same mix, everything. But they know that's better for them. Yeah.
So this is why I chose Milk and Honey as far as their practices, their belief. They're very coincidental with BuildASoil's belief. As you see, there's kelp, there's C90, there's magnesium, there's everything that we are putting into our soils already bioavailable through the cow, through its milk, and then through its fermentation process through kefir. And that's why Yahweh has this natural just boom effect, because everything's ready for the plant. It's been broken down by nature, by the cows, by the soil, and it all starts with your soil. And that's what we're going to show you here now.
Yep. It makes so much sense too, because I think what really got me excited when I started learning about growing the natural way was that it was simple. It was just a duplication of everything else. And first time I raised chickens, I went, oh, they get mites and things like plants do? I never even knew that. And they would get more if they were in a toxic environment with too many of them and not fed properly. And I'm like, well, that's what happens to plants when you overproduce them. And you have these big, farms that either monocrop, or you have dispensaries that have just tons of plants, and you can start to get issues. And so when you see a farm like this that's produced naturally, it all goes back to the soil. And then okay, now the milk she talked about is a full, complete nutritious product. And then that ends up into the product that we're feeding to the plants. I start to think, no wonder why these plants have such a reaction. I mean, you can test it at the lab and say you can make your own kefir at home, which is great. And we teach you to be independent. But one of the things that we can do is, if we're going to partner with other manufacturers to distribute a product, or if we're going to manufacture it, wouldn't it be the best if we could have the best of both worlds and actually find something that had everything it was supposed to be before it even got started? And that's part of the BuildASoil philosophy. So I'm just so impressed out here. I mean, look at the field.
Part of our philosophy here is these cows are on pasture year round. Okay. Now, in January, we're not growing green grass here. Yep. But there is some stockpile here they can still eat. But the number one most important thing is that they're out on that clean area, that they're not up here in a corral, that they're out there. And so right now, all the wire's down for the winter time. But here in the next probably week or 2 weeks, this will be the stage that we'll start rotating across this. This will be divided off into 5 paddocks. Yep. This has a fairly high legume mix out here, and they'll start rotating across here. We feed hay out here, our own hay, so that carbon, anything they don't eat, goes back to feed the soil. All the seed from that hay goes back.
Wow, look at this cow.
This is Heidi. She's a brown Swiss.
Beautiful.
Come on up, Heidi. Yep, the cows, they know, morning and evening milking when it's time. Most of the time they're up here just waiting. Obviously that brings relief to their udders, just getting milk, so it's something they enjoy. They get a little treat inside when they come in, so they like that as well. But yeah, we don't have to force them to come in. They want to come in, get their treats, get milked. It's a good experience for them.
Yeah, that's great, just because now they have something they don't fear. And you think about these big commercial farms and you're wondering how much like fear and anxiety goes into your food product instead of how much love.
You can tell she's not very stressed.
Yeah, not at all.
They all know their name, and we've been brushing them a lot to help them get their winter coats out. Yes, yeah, they're handled as pets here.
Oh, that's so great.
You can see she's still losing some of her. She's got a pretty heavy coat. She's still losing some of it, but
which is important. It gets cold out here in the winter.
I'm always thinking about her.
But yeah, they can come in here, whether it's summertime, they want to get some shade, or in the wintertime, they can come in here, get out of the wind, get out of the snow. When it rains, they'll come up here and they'll all pile in here. There's plenty of space for everyone.
How many cows do you have here?
We have 9 here.
Yeah, and so much space. That's how it should be. That's incredible.
But they're managed in such a way though that they're not degrading the soil, but they're actually building the soil. Yep. But that takes some very strenuous management plan to do that.
She's untying your shoes.
She's like, come on, stay.
Let's see if we can find a spot we can walk out here. She knows what that means.
Incredible.
So, you got to stay on that side. No, another week or two. So you can see right here, just the variety, very heavy clover in here. Yep. Clover obviously is a legume. It will fix nitrogen out of the air into the soil for that grass. Also has higher protein for the cows.
You can tell she wants it right now.
Yeah, see, they know how to rotate through here, and they know what's on this side. Probably another 1 to 2 weeks, it'll be the stage that we'll get our dividing hot wires up, and that's why we have all these gates through here. That way we can rotate them through one at a time. We got the front to rotate. Everything here is irrigated, so it's pretty high production.
When you're grazing, you're not trying to deplete the resource, because that's actually how you ruin land. But how you build it up is to let them eat some and then move them. And in nature, normally there'd be a predator doing that for you. Here, there's no such thing. They have a perfect life. So we'll move them, they'll move them, and that keeps the soil from being depleted because of just lack of process, lack of planning. But when there's a plan in place and it's executed well, the soil gets built.
Yeah.
This is beautiful, yeah.
So because this is covered, there again, you don't see those weeds growing. Nope. Because it has a high population of what we wanted out here.
Yep, and things that are normally weeds, when they're not sprayed, aren't. So when you're looking at like a dandelion, those are very nutritious. You can eat them, add them to your salads, and you know that they're not being sprayed.
They have deep roots. They'll pull those micronutrients deep from the soil. Yep. Cows will love that. That's one of the first things they'll nip all those heads off of there.
So I know you mentioned having the mineral buffet and using the C90.
Yep.
Do you treat the cover crop that's out here with anything at all?
Yes. So I have a 600-gallon sprayer that goes behind the tractor, PTO pump, and so I will mix that C90 in there, about 5 pounds of C90 per acre, and I will foliar spray that on this out here. I start usually at green up in the springtime, and then all throughout the grazing or hay season, all our hay fields and rotational paddocks will all get that sprayed on them.
And anything else, or is it just the cows doing their job?
Yep, just the cows as they, between their manure being left behind, we're feeding hay. Throughout the winter, we spread that out here for them. So that soil's being fed constantly.
Great. I mean, this is the dream. This is everything that people discuss when they say, I'd like to be self-sufficient, have a homestead, and it's doable. I mean, there's not a lot of places in the country where you can just go get a decent amount of land and do it. If you have the opportunity, this is a model to follow.
10 acres, and we're producing all our own protein and vegetables and berries. And
what I find is funny is that you have a lot of people, not funny, but conversational, right? We always joke about the government and big production and all these things, but really it hits home when you see a homestead farm. And then you realize people that produce raw milk are treated worse than those growing cannabis. It's like, oh my God, you might hurt somebody with this medicine. And so knowing that there's that duality from two totally different worlds kind of brings it together for me in the sense that it's not just about, some pursuit. It's about the pursuit of that American dream. And for a lot of us, it's not having a helicopter, it's having health. But I think it's really cool. So thank you so much for having me out here.
Absolutely. Thanks for coming out.
Cool.
Yeah, guys, check them out on their Facebook as well, Milk and Honey Homestead. They're doing some great things, guys. A lot of information, a lot of up-to-dates what they're doing.
MilkandHoneyHomestead.com. We have 2 cows that are going to be calving here soon, freshening. So we have more milk shares available.
We'll give them some love on the Facebook, but they're not going to ship any raw milk to you. You got to own a share. Yep. If you happen to be local, now you know about a new resource. I know when we toured the mushroom farm, it was one of the most popular videos. So this is kind of a side shoot from our normal process, and I really hope you find some value in this. Well, this has been really fun to tour the homestead, and for them to share a little bit of what goes on in their lives that ends up into a product that Eric produces, that ends up at BuildASoil, that ends up in your house. So full circle, we got to see some of that today, and I hope you're feeling inspired. I know I'm going to leave here today thinking more about my food sustainability and where I'm at. And they mentioned to me that they've got 2 years of food as their target goal to have at all times in case something happens. Can you imagine the peace of mind knowing that you had all of that produced on your own property, that you had a couple years worth, you didn't have to go to the grocery store? And in today's age where so many of us are riddled with mental problems and trying to make that normalized, I think that having that kind of stability in your life and knowing that it's produced well and all the health that comes with it, it could just kind of keep all that at the wayside. And so it's part of the BuildASoil way. And I hope that you guys enjoyed this process. And I think Eric and I are gonna go talk a little bit more about the product just to round this out. So thank you so much for having us out here today. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Thank you, yes.
Thank you so much for meeting my people. I see them once a week. It's like my new family up here. So I thank you so much.
It's awesome, man. A couple years ago, he was behind the camera watching our YouTube and said, man, I want to work out there. Ended up talking to Kevin and a couple guys, ended up interviewing, and now he's working at BuildASoil, manufactures a product, and is creating a new life for himself. And so that's available out there when you put your mind to something and set a goal, manifest that into reality. And this product was created in the same way. His license plate even says Thrive. And we started to talk about kefir and whey. He jumped right on it. And so now, full circle, I mean, I'm really impressed. We talked about what went into the milk that he got. And I'm like, yeah, that's great. But being here, I mean, really takes it up another level in my mind. And knowing that he takes that nutritious product and then turns it into, if you don't know what kefir is, go look it up, K-E-F-I-R, kefir. And the kefir is a set of, it's like a SCOBY, a symbiotic colony of bacteria and yeast, but it's a specific one that feeds on milk. And it's got thousands of years of history to it and its health benefits and a little bit of like some secret espionage mixed in the story. So it's kind of cool about how it was brought to other countries. And so in any case, I've made kefir for a long time. My dad used to do it, so it kind of reminds me of that. But in any case, you take the milk. The best would be raw milk, which he obviously took the time to find. And the best would be nutritious, holistically raised cattle instead of just milk from the store or just raw milk from any just raw milk farm. And then taking that, and then you basically add the beneficial, which looks like cottage cheese almost. You put what they call kefir grains into the milk, and within a few hours, depending on the ratio, you start to get separation, or within a couple of days, right? You can have less kefir or more. But either way, when people make kefir, they come up with their own recipe. They like it extra tangy, or they like it a little bit thick, and there's ways to create that. But when you leave it a little while longer, it separates into a beautiful whey. And whey, if you've heard of it before, like a whey protein drink, when they take that whey and dehydrate it into a whey powder, that's what a protein powder drink is. But instead of doing that, this whey has been Yahweh'd and stabilized so that it actually stays well in the bottle at room temperature. And it's made from that milk and it's been fermented. And you can see what it looks like. And what's unique is that we sell a number of different ferments, but this one starts with the food stock. We're not fermenting like a plant material, right? We're fermenting the milk. And so when you smell it, it actually smells like reminiscent of something ancient. The grow kashi from Alan back in the day, he would add like a mineral supplement when he fermented and it smelled a little bit similar to this. And even, AJ's kashi, it has a little bit of that like lactose smell in it that I think I'm beginning to recognize, that sweet fermented smell.
That's sweet sour.
Now, I'm not going to drink this like I drank the milk. You probably could, but your plants will drink it. They go crazy for it. And now I think you know the full behind the scenes as to truly what's in here. And there's a lot of people that might say, hey, you can make this on your own, and we totally encourage you to do so. But if you can't, or if you want to buy it from Eric through BuildASoil, well, that means that you're getting all of this family's effort put into it before he even gets it, and then he has his whole process that he goes through to get it here. And so, proof's in the pudding. Those that use it come back and buy it again. It's one of our bigger repeat purchase products. And I'm just so impressed with what you've done behind the scenes here, man.
Thank you.
Really cool. Thanks for having me out, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you. And I want to show you guys, don't ever drink this. I don't highly recommend drinking this, but it is so safe. I want to show you it is safe for you, your plants. We don't sell any type as far as human edible, but remember, what goes in our soil goes in us, goes in our animals. So, cheers.
Ooh, I thought he was going to take one little sip.
Guys, like I said, don't go and drink your bottle now. Not for human consumption, but I want to let you know.
A lot of probiotic people. I was talking to Eric when he was running Terraganics, and he would drink the EM1 every day, and I was like, okay.
So that's humic acids, that's molasses, kefir, water, everything your body knows, everything your body wants. So
very cool. Maybe one day, food product, one day.
Yeah, maybe. So I was having trouble with my body, so I looked into probiotics years and years ago. It got me off of pharmaceutical medicine. So this is why I started to dabble more into ferments, more about probiotics, biology, and learn the symbiosis between the two, between our soil, between our animals and ourselves. So I really started to dig deep. Jeremy was talking about kefir one day, so I was like, yes, I can make kefir. So I started making some kefir for myself. I immediately started feeling better. I was like, wait, this should make the plants feel better. Started giving some to my plants. Next thing you know, the next day they were all greening, praying. It was overnight, and sometimes you don't see this.
Yep.
Anyways, I learned about the importance of lactic acid. Lactic acid is something that we have in our bodies. It's something in our soil. It's a micro-producing acid. Lactic acid is coming from lactobacillus bacteria, and that's what you'll find in the Yahweh. It's pure lactobacillus bacteria that are creating lactic acids that actually break down nutrients in your soil, just like humic acids. We need a part B to our part A. We need an enzyme. We need something to break things down, just like your stomach. You don't just magically, digest food. You chew it, right? But then there's another magical process with your microbes. These microbes now release the nutrients. They break down these proteins into amino acids, build fingernails, build skin, build bones. It's the same thing that these amino acids are going to do and thrive. They're going to help your plant build leaf matter, build roots, build fruits. Everything you're looking for as far as terpene profiles come from acids. They come from bacteria. They don't come from terpinator. They don't come from some synthesized chemical. They come from microbiology. They come from the little guys that we can't see. So whenever you're dabbling in probiotics, don't just think about your soil. Think about yourself. So start making your own kefir. You don't have to buy this. Look into getting some of your own kefir grains online. It's very easy. Make some probiotics for you, for your soil. Close that loop system. Yep. Ancient practices go back about 4,000 or 5,000 years ago. Ancient cultures used to keep grains illegal. These grains were illegal for the society to have because you were stealing wealth. You were stealing health from the royal society. So start looking into your ancient practices. What did our grandfathers do? Not what we're doing. It's unfortunate we were taught wrong. Our education systems didn't tell us about probiotics and prebiotics. Both found in Yahweh, both found in a lot of the things that we're selling at BuildASoil.
Yep.
So
there's kind of a fear of fermentation, I feel like, that exists in the United States that's going away. But when you think about what the best things are, you got cheese and you got coffee and you got chocolate and bread and milk. So many things involve this fermentation. And so it's important to be aware of that. But you can tell he's excited. There's a lot that goes on into this product, especially as you go down each rabbit hole learning about it. But for me, it's very, very simple. When you give something that the plants react to, you know that it's working. And all of our customers experience that same result. And that's why it's selling so well, because it provides that result. And on top of that, even going back to the beginning of BuildASoil, when Coot turned us on to Gil Carringdang, one of their Korean natural farmers, and he would share some of his technique. A lot of it came from doing these little bits of fermentation, and the first one was the lactobacillus serum. Well, I was making kefir at the time. So when mine would go a little long, because I'd forget to take it off the fridge for the day, I just kept it on top of my fridge, I would say, well, what do I do with this? And I'm like, that's kind of like lactose serum, and I'd give it to the plants. They would rage. So when our discussion started, it's kind of like, okay, well, if you can do it, I know they're going to love it. So here we are. Thank you for being a part of this process. Thank you for buying the product, bringing this full circle from a decade ago to now. And now something brand new for Eric, a new product, and something for your plants. Well, this has been really good. Thanks for following along with the BuildASoil YouTube series. Thanks for coming to the Milk and Honey Homestead and seeing everything that they have going on here behind me, the beautiful farm. Hopefully you're inspired by this. Hopefully you're leaving this more educated, understanding what truly goes into the Thrive product, what Eric's put together for your benefit through BuildASoil. And as always, we appreciate you for watching. Tell your friends, hit the subscribe button. It really helps the algorithm. Like these videos. If you can share them on your social media, it might really make an impact on someone's life. Thank you. And until the next episode, I'll see you all on the next BuildASoil YouTube video.